Hi, Morgan with Event Answer here, and today I'm going to show you how I made these giant numbers. So let's jump right into it. I started making these numbers on my computer, and you can use any software that as long as you can type and change the font of letters and numbers, that program will work just fine. So I started with the number 16, and I made them a little bolder than their normal font is, and that way they'll have a lot of presence when I make these full size. I'll be enlarging these numbers using a projector, so I'm only making them big enough on the computer to fit inside that. The one thing that you do need to remember is if you have a rounded letter or number that you're wanting to create, you need to flatten the bottom of that so that it can stand up, otherwise it won't have any way to support itself. I printed out my numbers and then placed them underneath my projector here, which is shooting the image onto the wall, and then I'm ready to start tracing. Now I'm using foam core here, also called foam board, and it's about 30 inches wide, and that's what dictated the size of my numbers. I decided that I could get 2 numbers per board if I made them 30 inches tall, so that's what I went with. After I traced the number on it, I used a brand new X-Acto blade and cut out both of my numbers, and trying to be as precise as possible because we're going to use these first set of numbers as a template for the back side of our number to make this 3-dimensional. My numbers and laid them down on the second piece of foam core, and what this does is this gives me an exact replica of the front, so in case my tracing or cutting wasn't exactly perfect in the beginning, my front and back pieces will at least align with each other and look like they were meant to be together. I finished cutting out the second set of numbers and then moved on to cutting out spacers, so I made these 6 inches long by 1 inch to 1/2 inch. The width doesn't really matter, but the length needs to be consistently cut because that's how deep my number will be. With my hot glue gun set to low, I started gluing down the spacers, and the important thing here is to keep the edge flush to the edge of the number because we're going to be putting basically a skin along this side, and we need this to be as flat as possible. So if there's any excess hot glue, be sure to remove that with a knife or your finger or whatever, just don't burn yourself, to make sure that these edges are perfectly flat. I'm spacing these a couple inches apart on a curve. On the flat sides though, you can put them further apart. Once all those spacers have been glued down, I add the back side of the number here, and it's important to square everything up. So I glued down the ends and the base of every number first, and making sure that I'm getting everything aligned between the front and the back side with these spacers. I found that it was easier to flip the number upside down at this point and finish gluing the rest of them, and that way I wasn't fighting gravity to get all of these little spacers glued down. So I just held them in place until they set, and then went back and backfilled a little bit of glue as extra support behind them as needed. At this point I was ready to skin the numbers, and for that I used poster board. So my spacers were 6 inches, and then I had to add in the thickness of the foam board, which gave me a width for my poster board strips here of 6 inches and 3/8. Now with poster board, there's a shiny side and a matte side. Just make sure you're consistently using one of those sides, especially if you intend to spray paint these numbers later. From here, I started to skin the numbers, and I used my hot glue gun set on high here and tried to glue in small sections because the hot glue does dry pretty quickly and you have to get the poster board on before that sets. So I put the glue down and then lined up my poster board, keeping it as square as possible and aligning it to the front side of my number. If there was a little overhang on the back, I wasn't quite so concerned because I'll come back later and trim that up. If I were to repeat this project again, I think I would totally do this using CA glue or super glue. I think that would work a lot better because the hot glue gun does give you a little bit of texture and filler. So if you're trying to keep a nice perfect edge to it, it can make it look a little bumpy. So just keep that in mind as you decide on which glue is best for your project. When I got to a corner on my number, I made sure I scored the inside of the poster board, and this gave me a really nice crisp edge to the corners. There was a couple spots where my poster board was a little short from getting me to a corner or an end, so I just used a little super glue to overlay those ends and glue them down. And we're done! And remember, these can be made in any size or shape to fit your event. I hope you found today's project inspirational. It was a lot of fun putting together these numbers for a Sweet 16 party, and you can make any set of numbers or letters with this
So if you do decide to make this project, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experience doing this project and what did you learn along the way. I hope you join us for future projects. Hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss out on any future videos, because next time I'll be tackling this fringe wall that you see behind us here. So stay tuned and stay creative, and we'll see you next time. Bye!